The market doesn't pay you for your effort. It pays you in direct proportion, not just to the value, but to the complexity of the problem you can solve. Now, if you're struggling to raise your prices, or if you feel like you're worth more than what you're currently getting paid right now, it's not because the market is unfair. It's because your mastery stack is probably too thin. Let's talk about it. I'm Spencer Combs, the Defiant Coach, and this is Spencer Uncensored, episode 111. Yeah, wow. That's kind of crazy, actually. Where we talk about the real reason your business isn't giving you the profit, the productivity, or the purpose you'd hope for, and it's probably not even what you think it is. Now, I want to be clear about something here before we really get into this whole episode. What we're talking about today applies to probably two groups of people for the most part, and I want both of them to feel seen, right? So you might be in one of these two groups. So let me cover group number one. The first group is probably going to be a business owner or an entrepreneur who knows their work is excellent, probably does a good job, but can't seem to break through a pricing ceiling. You keep watching people with less experience charge more than you. You've been told to charge your worth. You heard that before, right? But nobody tells you what that actually means or how to even get there, right? Or maybe you're in the second group. You're the high performer inside of an organization, like, maybe you're an employee, a manager, or even a specialist within the business, right? And you're one of the most valuable people in the building, but can't seem to get the promotion or the raise even, or the recognition to match that level of effort. You're doing the work, you're producing the results, and somehow the market, whether that's the market outside or the leadership above you, isn't reflecting that back. So both groups are dealing with the same problem. It has a name. I call it the authority gap, and cultural gravity is the reason most people never actually close that gap, right? So let's talk about the authority gap. Well, like what is it actually, Spencer? The authority gap is the distance between what you actually know and what the market perceives you to know. It's the gap between your real expertise and the authority the world is assigning to you. So here's why that gap exists. Most people spend, and many of you might be spending all of your energy going deep into a primary skill, right? So your craft, your specialty, or your core function, and then you assume that excellence at that one thing is eventually going to be recognized. Like the work will speak for itself, that the right people are going to notice. Well, cultural gravity loves that assumption because it keeps you kind of head down and in your lane, producing excellent work and relatively obscure, relative obscurity, while someone with a thinner skill set, by the way, and a stronger presence commands the room, raises the price, and gets the promotion, not because they're better, but because the authority gap is smaller. So here's something for you to write down. The market doesn't reward the most skilled. It rewards the most legible. If people can't see what you know, they can't pay you for it. So how do you close the authority gap? You build what I call a mastery stack. And before you assume that this is just another way of saying learn more stuff, right? Learn more stuff. Go out and get the next course, right? It's not. It's about building the right layers of expertise in the right order so that the complexity of the problems that you solve grows and the market can actually see it. So here's the three layers. If you're going to take notes, here's three layers that we need to know, right? So layer number one is your foundation. So if we're going to do this like in a triangular format, the bottom is the foundation. This is your core craft, right? What you do. So if you're a coach, right? It's the coaching methodology. It's the basics, right? If you're in sales, it's your ability to close. If you're an accountant, it's your technical knowledge. This is going to be the baseline. It's the entry fee. Everyone at your level has it. And this is where people most of the time stop, right? They learn the basics, they get the foundation, they just know how to do the thing, right? If I'm a mechanic, I know how to work on some cars. Layer number 2, though, we step up in what we call the multipliers. And we call it the multipliers because these are adjacent skills that amplify everything in your foundation. Things like communication, negotiation, psychology, systems thinking, understanding how to interpret data, right? So like data literacy. These don't change what you actually do, but they exponentially increase the impact of what you do, right? So like a coach who understands NLP probably is going to close a little faster and retain longer. The salesperson who understands buyer psychology, not just closing, but the psychology, they don't just sell. They actually can lead people. The accountant who understands business strategy, and you've seen the difference between people, accountant who just crunches numbers and does returns versus one that actually understands business strategy. They don't just manage books. They become a strategic partner. That's the second level, the multipliers levels. Now, the third level is going to be the apex. Now, this is cognitive command, the ability to look at a client's or an employee's or employers, really, right? So if you're the owner and entrepreneur, you're looking at a client. If you're an employee or you're working within an organization, you're looking at your leaderships, you're looking at the entire situation and diagnose the actual or real problem, not just the presenting problem. This is where invisible authority lives. When someone realizes that you understand their problem better than they do, that's the apex. And it can't be faked. It can only be built. Here's something quotable. Most people live at layer 1 and wonder why they can't charge layer 3 prices. The mastery stack is how you earn the right to the rate that you deserve, whether that's a pay raise, whether that's a higher price point, all of those types of things. So here's what we're covering today. I'm going to show you how the authority gap shows up differently in all 4 of the patterns that we talk about. The qualified champion, right? All 4 patterns that go along with that. And how each pattern's relationship with their own mastery stack is keeping them stuck at a level below what they're actually worth. And I'm going to give you some very specific things that you can act on this week, regardless of which pattern you're in. So if you're ready, grab out your notebook. Let's get down to business. The expertise arena, right? Or the arena of expertise covers 3 things. It's going to be your knowledge, right? So what you know and how deep it goes. Your skill development, how intentionally you're growing your mastery stack. And then your market positioning, how visibly you're claiming authority in your space. Notice that last one, positioning. That's the piece most people skip. They build the knowledge, right? They get the foundation. They develop the skills, and then they stay quiet about it. They wait to be discovered. They assume competence will eventually, be recognized. And then cultural gravity is going to reinforce that whole assumption because claiming authority feels like arrogance, right? Self-promotion feels a little uncomfortable. And basically staying humble feels kind of safe. But here's the thing about invisible expertise. It doesn't help anyone. The client who needs the layer 3, right? That apex level thinking goes to someone at layer 1, the foundational person, the competitor, because that's who they could find. The employee who deserves the promotion gets passed over because their authority has never their authority was never visible, right? Or it was invisible. They were never visible to the decision maker. The business owner who could command a premium pricing stays at a commodity rates because the market can't see the depth of what they actually know. I coach a lot of real estate agents too, and I I, I point out to them all the time. I said, you're going to do transactions with people dumber than a brick, making 5 times more money than you, and it's true. Anyone that's done the business for a while knows. You're like, how did this person even find the clients? Like, how do they get their license in the first place? Yeah, what they've done is they've figured out how to actually uh, express. They're more visible. Cultural gravity in the arena of expertise doesn't usually show up as ignorance, by the way. It shows up as hidden excellence. So good people doing great work that nobody knows about, right? That's them. And that's exactly where the authority gap lives, in the space between what you know and what the market can actually see. Hidden excellence is not humility, ladies and gentlemen. It's a disservice to everyone who needs what you know and can't find you. Now, I'm going to go through these four patterns. If you're familiar with, or if you're not familiar, you can go to spencercombs.com and learn more about this stuff. But the Qualified Champions framework helps people understand which pattern they're running, which then allows you to figure out how to move forward and operate from purpose, right? So there's 4 patterns. The first one that we're going to cover, and we almost do this every time, is the unqualified champion. That's that top left quadrant. These are people that are high mindset, low mechanics, right? So if you're the unqualified champion in the arena of expertise, you have probably one very tall skill, right? It's like a leaning tower. It's usually something like vision, enthusiasm, or maybe even sales ability, and not much underneath it. So you might claim authority confidently, excuse me, sometimes too confidently. Maybe you're the business owner who has positioned yourself as the expert before the expertise is fully earned. Or you're the employee who talks a big game in meetings but hasn't built the depth to um, back it up consistently. It's probably a better way to put that. Your mastery stack looks like a leaning tower. One impressive pillar, no foundation, and cultural gravity is telling you that confidence is currency. That if you act like you belong at the table, people are going to believe you. And sometimes that actually works, which is a problem, but it works. And most of the time, though, it's short term. But without the depth to back it up, the authority gap eventually shows. Clients will feel it. Leaders are going to notice it, right? Your employers are going to notice it. And the cracks in the tower become super visible. The lie that cultural gravity is telling you is this: your vision and energy are enough. They are not. Okay. Vision without craft is a promise without a product. I'm going to repeat it. Vision without craft is a promise without a product. And the market eventually figures it out. You have authority without expertise. The market gave you the benefit of the doubt. And right now, you're spending that credit faster than you're earning it. So here's 2 things you can do. If that felt like you in that conversation, just know that if it felt like you or you were getting uncomfortable with that, it's probably because it was meant for you. So here's what you can do. 2 things. One, you can identify the biggest gap between what you promise and what you actually can currently deliver. And then spend 30 focused minutes just this week adding to that layer of your stack. Not a course, not a book, a real skill applied to an actual situation. I'll say it this way: 1 hour of deliberate practice closes more of the authority gap than 10 hours of passive consumption. You need to have a bias for action. So do something to close that gap. The second thing you can do is find one person who has like that layer 2, layer 3, right? So they're more into the multipliers, or they're actually in the apex. They're really good at their game and people know about it. Find that person and then buy an hour of their time. Not necessarily, not just to network, but to learn. Ask them specific questions. Like, what do you know that I don't know yet? And things that I need to know to operate at the next level. And then listen and take notes. That's the second thing you guys can do. Find the people that want to model and learn from them. Buy an hour of their time. Now, maybe that's not you. Maybe you're falling more into that qualified victim where productivity is your big driver, and you like to work your way through and get better, right? That's the qualified victim, meaning you got results because you understand the mechanics, but you're not necessarily, the mindset has kept you in a position where you have a rut, like you keep hitting a glass ceiling. If you're the qualified victim in the arena of expertise, you are often the most genuinely skilled person in the room, and typically the most undercompensated too. You've gone deep in your foundation. You know your craft at a level most people will probably never reach, but you've either refused to build the multipliers because they feel beneath your expertise, or you've built them quietly and never claimed them publicly. So maybe you're the business owner who is genuinely world class at what you do, but can't raise your prices because you've never positioned yourself as anything more than a skilled practitioner. Or you're the employee who has quietly developed an incredible skill, right? A skill set, but never advocates for yourself in a performance review. You never make your contributions visible to leadership and never claim the authority your depth actually deserves. Cultural gravity lies to you. This is what it sounds like, right? So your work should speak for itself. Promotion should come to those who deserve it. If you're good enough, people will notice. Stuff like that. That belief keeps brilliant people underpaid for the entire careers, right? The market does not automatically reward depth. It rewards legibility, and your depth is often invisible to everyone but you. You have expertise without authority. The world doesn't know what you know, and so cultural gravity convinced you it shouldn't have to ask. So here's two things you can do. Number one, make one piece of your expertise visible this week, right? So you could write a LinkedIn post, record a short video, teach something in a meeting you would normally stay quiet in. The goal isn't to promote yourself, it's to make your layer 2 and layer 3 thinking legible to the people who need to see it. Invisible expertise helps no one. So that's number one, if that's you. Number two, identify one adjacent skill, right? So one multiplier. That doesn't, well, a multiplier that you've been dismissing as beneath you or outside your lane, maybe like communication or systems, right? Like workflows, AI, data, leadership presence, whatever it is. Add it to your stack this quarter, not because it's something sexy and glamorous, because it closes your authority gap and it earns you the rate or the role you already deserve. So that's pattern number two. Pattern number three is the unqualified victim. This is the bottom left, right? This is the flatline conversation. These are the people that wish things would get better, and they're the unqualified victim. If you're the unqualified victim in the arena of expertise, you have the smallest stack and largest authority gap. You're either still at the very beginning of the building, building your foundation, or you've spread yourself too thin across too many unrelated areas and never gone deep enough in any of them to command real authority. You're a generalist in a world that rewards specialists. Cultural gravity, by the way, will keep you there because going deep requires commitment, and commitment requires a decision. And right now, you're still in wish mode. Maybe you're the business owner trying to be everything to everyone and wondering why nobody takes you seriously as an expert. Guys, I fell victim to this one, right? Or you're the employee who dabbles across different functions but hasn't built a reputation for excellence in any of them, and then wonders why the promotion keeps going to someone else. The lie cultural gravity is telling you, it says you need to know more before you claim expertise in anything. more experience, more credentials, more time, and you keep waiting. You keep waiting. The mastery stack never gets built because the foundation never gets chosen. And without a foundation, there's nothing to stack on. You're solving low-level problems for low-level pay, not because you're incapable, but because you haven't chosen a lane deep enough to own yet. So if that's you, here's two things you can do to fix that. Number one, choose one specific area, just one, where you go deep for the next 90 days. Not a vague category, a specific skill inside a specific context. So if you're a business owner, pick the one thing your best clients consistently hire you for and go 3 levels deeper in that. If you're an employee, pick the function your organization values most and then become the most knowledgeable person in that room. Depth before breadth, always. Number 2, start teaching what you know. Even if it feels like you don't know enough yet, teaching forces you to organize your thinking, identify your gaps, and build credibility simultaneously. So a short internal presentation at work or a social media post, a conversation with a peer, the act of articulating what you know accelerates the building of your stack faster than anything else. Hopefully that was helpful for you if you feel like you're in that space. Now, this leads us to the last quadrant, which is the qualified champion. This is the top right quadrant, high mindset, high mechanics. And if you're in this category, you are working to accelerate and or refine the process so that you can continue to get progress. So if you're the qualified champion in the arena of expertise, you've done something most people never do. You've built all 3 layers intentionally with purpose. That's why it's called the purpose quadrant. You have a strong foundation. You've stacked the multipliers that amplify it, and you've developed enough apex thinking to lead clients and employers through complexity with certainty. So your authority gap is probably kind of small. It's smaller than the rest of the other patterns. Not because you're arrogant, but because you've done the work to earn visibility, right? Maybe you're the business owner who can charge premium rates without apologizing for them because your depth is evident from your first conversation, or the employee who gets promoted ahead of peers who've been there longer. You've seen that before, right? Not because of politics, but because your mastery stack is visibly more valuable than everyone else's. Now, cultural gravity still pulls on you here. So if that's you, it shows up as complacency. So the belief that because my stack is working, it doesn't need to keep growing. The market evolves, ladies and gentlemen. The problems your clients or employees or employers, need solved can change. So if you stop the stacking, you're eventually going to find your authority gap reopening. Not because you've lost skills, but because the world has moved and you haven't moved with it. So your authority gap is small because you never stopped closing it. Don't stop now. Expertise without continued investment becomes expertise in yesterday's problems. So here's 2 things you can do. 1, conduct a quarterly staff audit. So ask yourself, what problems are my best clients or my organization trying to solve right now that I'm not yet equipped to lead, right? You want to become more anticipatory. That answer tells you exactly what your next multiplier is. So don't wait for a gap to become obvious. Build ahead of the need. The second thing you could do is find one way to make your apex thinking more visible this quarter. Write about it, speak about it, teach it. The qualified champion's greatest competitive advantage is the depth of their thinking. And if that thinking stays internal, it's only helping them. Made visible, it closes other people's authority gaps too. That's what builds a movement, by the way. So here's some uncensored truth for you. Here's what I want you to take from this today. Whether you own a business or you work inside one, whether you're trying to raise your prices or get paid, what you're worth inside your organization or any of this kind of stuff, right? The problem is almost never that you're not skilled enough. The problem is that the distance between what you actually know and what the world can see is too wide. That's the authority gap. And cultural gravity built it, not overnight, by the way, over years of staying heads down in your lane, letting your work speak for itself, waiting to be discovered, staying humble in ways that actually hurt people. Right? It hurts the people who need your expertise, really. So I want to be clear about something. Building your mastery stack isn't about becoming someone you're not. It's not about becoming louder or more aggressive or turning yourself into a brand even necessarily. It's about making sure the expertise you've already built, the years of experience, the hard-won knowledge that you have, the depth that only comes from doing the work. It's that it's legible to the people who need it the most. The truth about all this authority gap conversation is every day it stays open. Someone who needs your layer 3 or apex thinking is going to be settling for someone else's layer 1. Not because you prefer it, because they couldn't find you or see you. You don't have a skills problem. You have a visibility problem. And cultural gravity convinced you that staying invisible was the honorable choice. So here's the question I want to ask you, and I want you to sit with this week. What's the next layer of your mastery stack? And what's been stopping you from adding to it? For some of you, the answer is a multiplier skill. You've already figured that out. You've been dismissing it as unnecessary. For some of you, it's a foundation you haven't even committed to deeply enough yet. And for some of you, it's not a skill at all. It's visibility. You have the stack. You're just not claiming it. You're waiting for the world to notice what you've never shown it. Whichever one it is, that's the next defiant move. Not someday, this week. The Defiant Assessment at unshakablesecrets.com will show you which pattern is running your arena of expertise right now. Takes about 3 to 5 minutes to actually complete. The link is going to be in the description. We have steadily been adding subscribers, by the way, so I would love it if you guys would subscribe to this channel, because the more people we have, the faster and the better we grow, the better the content as we move. Next week's episode, we're going to be moving into the 5th and final business arena. It's the arena of executive. This is a leadership operations type conversation. It's how you run the whole thing. Same pattern lens. So if you have questions about your leadership, your operations, or how you manage and scale what you've built, drop them in the comments or at the Unshakable Business Leaders Facebook group, by the way. I'll put that link down in below too, before Wednesday. And then I'll do my best to answer those questions for you as we go. I'm Spencer Combs, the Defiant Coach. Stay defiant, and I'll see you next Wednesday.